everyone, and welcome to episode 49 of Piv's NXT Point of View podcast. My name is Bill Pivots. If you guys want, follow me on Twitter at bpiv_sports. Also, rate, review the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, wherever else you guys get your podcasts. It'd be greatly appreciated. So this week's episode, we have the main event of Finn Balor and Apollo Crews in a non-title match. We also have the Vaudevillains come back. They're in action. Enzo and Cass are in action, Carmella's in action, and Asuka as well. So it's a very jam-packed show with a lot going on. So without further ado, let's get started. This show got started with a tag team match between the Vaudevillains against the Hype Bros. If you guys remember the last couple weeks, I've talked about their vignettes that's aired. They kind of had this mean undertone to them with a more aggressive style. The music was the same, and they even posed for the crowd, so it seemed like they were baby faces. And against the Hype Bros, they're definitely baby faces in my eyes. Early in the match, the Hype Bros had the advantage on Aiden English. Gotch saved his partner, and Aiden took control of Zack Ryder. He then yelled, "We ain't hype, we're men," which got a nice reaction out of the crowd, and one out of me as well. Zack Ryder got the mild tag to Mojo Rawley, and he took out both Gotch and English. He had a corner splash on Gotch, and then he missed the second one. Ryder took out English and connected with a dropkick on Simon Gotch. He missed the broski boot. The Vaudevillains took advantage of that and hit the whirling dervish to get the win. It was a decent match. It put the Vaudevillains back on the map in that title hunt. Obviously, they're still a long way away from getting another title shot, but it's putting them in contention, at least putting them on the board with the win. Pretty much throughout the whole match, Tom Phillips and Corey Graves focus on the newfound aggression and focus from Simon Gotch and Aiden English, and I'm pretty sure that's the story they're going to tell in the coming weeks, as they're either going to be turning heel or just not being as jovial as they were in months past. We then got a video recap of the Women's Battle Royal from 3 weeks ago. Tom Phillips sat down with Carmella and asked her about winning the Battle Royal. She then talked about her background with her father being a wrestler back in the 90s. From what they showed, it looks like he was a job guy. He then asked her about her match with her best friend. If you guys watch Battleground, that Carmella and Bayley were very close. And she said that nothing's going to affect their friendship regardless of who wins. And then she talked about defeating Emma later tonight. It was a good interview segment. I liked it. Carmella just seemed very down-to-earth, very likable in this one. There's really nothing arrogant. Despite what you may see in her ring entrance or her style, it was just very straightforward. I'm going to win. I'm going to do whatever I can to win kind of thing. And I liked it. She's a likable character. Alex Reyes then interviewed Dash and Dawson about Enzo and Cass's comments from last week. Dash said they always complain and talk trash, but always lose. Dawson said that the tag team revival keeps on rolling as they're on their way to becoming the best tag team champs in NXT. He welcomed a challenge from Cass and Enzo, and the results will be the same as they were in London. While they may be heels, I do like these guys. They're very straightforward, no nonsense, very confident in their approach that they're going to beat you and make no bones about it. And as a heel, that's what they need to do, and they're doing a good job at it. Second match was Carmella versus Emma with Dana Brooke in her corner. Emma had control and pulled on Carmella's hair a little bit. She then stretched her out by her arms as Dana was screaming from the ringside. She was probably the most audible one in the whole crowd. Carmella landed a monkey flip and some mounted punches. She then drove Emma's face into her boot and hit a hurricanrana from the second rope. She followed it up with a Bronco Buster, and Carmella countered a double underhook slam into a backslide pin to get the win. Short match, but it wasn't definitely the best match either of these women have. A little sloppy at parts, which is upsetting considering they're pushing Carmella to be obviously not the NXT Women's Champion, but just pushing her as like the number 2 babyface, or maybe number 3 behind Asuka on the women's roster. We then got a recap of the triple threat match between Baron Corbin, Sami Zayn, and Samoa Joe. Both Zayn and Joe gave their comments on the ending. Well, Joe really didn't give a comment. He kind of just grunted at the interviewer and walked away. And we got word that William Regal will make an announcement later in the show. We also got a nice American Alpha vignette. Third match was Enzo and Cass versus 2 enhancement guys. Tom Phillips, during this match, he called Corey Graves soft on his stance on Enzo and Cass, and then Corey Graves threatened to punch him in his throat after calling him SAWFT. And at this point, I was actually laughing out loud because these two are probably the best commentary team NXT's had in a while. They work well off each other. Corey Graves is that jerk heel, kind of like a Bobby Heenan, but a little more aggressive. And Tom Phillips is just straightforward play-by-play guy, which they play off each other really well. I like it. Cass hit one of the job guys with the big boot, chucked the other one out of the ring, and then after a side slam, they hit Air Enzo to get the win. obvious finish as they're building towards a rematch with Dash and Dawson. Really not much to go over here. Some random interviewer caught up with Apollo Crews about his match tonight. He said he was robbed of the title by Baron Corbin and that he's ready to prove that he can be NXT champion. We then got a shot of William Regal in his office, but before he could say anything, Baron Corbin interrupted and saying that he wants a rematch. William Regal said that it was 100% certain he lost, and Baron Corbin called it a joke. Well, Regal isn't wrong there. Regardless of the decision he makes, Baron Corbin clearly tapped. Why would he be included in the rematch for this? I don't get it. He didn't come off well in this segment. But Regal said he reviewed the tape and that Sami Zayn and Samoa Joe will face off and the winner will take on Finn Balor. I don't think he mentioned when the match is going to take place, either next week or the week after. But the winner of that match will face Finn Balor, I believe, at TakeOver Dallas. Fourth match was Asuka versus Santana Garrett. So my first thought was, let's see how this one goes here. Asuka no-sold Santana strikes early. She absorbed a nice slap across the face and then landed a hip attack as she was running against the ropes. She then connected with multiple kicks. Santana ducked a running kick and then rolled her up for a nice near fall. She then locked in a nice standing armbar. Asuka caught her off the ropes and locked in the Asuka lock. Santana escaped a little bit and then Asuka quickly locked it back in to get the win. Yep, pretty much how I thought that match would go. I'm just surprised at how much offense they gave Santana. I mean, it wasn't as one-sided, which is nice, but also it was just surprising to see some rookie get this much offense on the dominant Asuka. Just a weird booking as far as this match is concerned. Granted, obviously Asuka won, but if you're going to have her win, just either make the match 50-50 or have her like 60-40 heel or just have her dominate her completely in the match. Just weird how much offense they gave her. Reyes then caught up with Finn Balor about the triple threat and his thoughts. He said he's the best, and that's why he's the NXT champ. Very straightforward. Really nothing too deep about Finn Balor's interviews. After that was time for the main event, Finn Balor versus Apollo Crews. Before we get into this, my thoughts were, with no title on the line, I would be surprised if this match went either way. Obviously went one way, but if Apollo Crews would have won, I wouldn't have been upset. He gets a win over the champ, puts him in line for a title shot kind of thing. But that's not how this match went. Pretty much started out with a 2-minute headlock from Finn Balor. Cruz had his own locked in for a little bit, and then he connected with a dropkick, which sent Balor to the outside for their first break. There was a nice sequence later on with a leapfrog sunset flip, and then a basement dropkick from Finn Balor. They went back and forth for a decent amount of the match in the middle. Cruz clotheslined Balor off the apron, and then he went for a moonsault, but Balor ducked, ran in the ring, and landed a nice over-the-top rope plancha. He then connected with the double foot stomp to the back of Cruz's head, but Cruz was able to kick out. Cruz caught Balor off the ropes and landed a Samoan drop. Balor ducked a nice heel kick and hit the sling blade. Cruz came back with his own big boot and press slam, followed by his standing moonsault for a nice false finish there, considering he went back to his old finishing move. He then went for his tossed powerbomb, but Balor blocked it and hit a second sling blade, connected with the hesitation dropkick and the coup de grace, but that wasn't it. He then hit a brainbuster to get the win. I'm kind of interested to see why Finn Balor had to use the brainbuster. Either he needed another move to beat Apollo Crews, or is this going to be his new finisher, considering how they also switched Apollo Crews' finisher a few months ago? Is the coup de grace a setup move now, since it's only a double foot stomp, and they're going to have him use the brainbuster? We'll see what happens in his next few matches. The match was good. After the match, Balor was checking on Cruz. The two hugged, and Cruz raised Balor's arm, so sign of respect there. It did pick up towards the end, but that whole beginning sequence with the headlocks and rest holds and everything kind of just bored me. It was hard for me to get excited after break. Granted, there were just some nice spots, but just that long, drawn-out segment was it kind of hurt the match. The loss kind of puts Cruz at a disadvantage. He lost to the champion. He's had some wins and some losses over the last couple weeks, so it's hard to see where he's at as far as the title rankings. He is the number 3 babyface behind Finn Balor and Sami Zayn. But where does that put him, considering there's no NXT secondary title? So he's kind of in limbo, just waiting for his opportunity, I guess. And like I said, that's why I would have had Balor lose, considering it was non-title, and he's going to defend his championship at TakeOver Dallas anyway. Having Apollo Crews gain some momentum here wouldn't have been a bad thing at all. Overall, it was a decent show. Some of the matches were one-sided and just very short. The others, like the Finn Balor-Apollo Crews match, was good, just a little boring at the beginning. They didn't mention that the Sami Zayn-Samoa Joe match would take place next week. They do have Bayley defending her NXT Women's Championship against Carmella, And I believe these are the first set of tapings from the UCF Arena, University of Central Florida. I think they did about 3 or 4 episodes from here, so this crowd should be lively. They should have some good matches on the next 3 or 4 weeks. All right, so that was episode 49, Piv's NXT Point of View podcast. I'll be back next week with episode 50. Peace.